idea of nofap is a myth. Back in 2011, if I remember correctly, there were two people. Gary Wilson was one of them, and I think Alexander Rhodes. Now, they came up with something which was to say, get rid of porn addiction for people. So this is something that everyone has missed. That's completely blown out of the picture now. So porn addiction was why the nofap movement came. People were consuming lots of porn at that time. Suddenly, somehow, because people are watching porn and masturbating, porn to hat gaya, it became about masturbating less. So it sort of backfired on them.
Did you know that your testicles make 1500 sperm every single second? सोच में पड़ गए? बेहतरीन. That's kind of the point of this podcast. We want to make you think. We want to make you think about science, about the world, and most importantly, we want to make you think about your body. And to answer these questions and to make you laugh, we bring on experts. Today we have with us Dr. Prateek Makwana, who is a consultant embryologist, the director at Vasundhara Hospitals, and he's also a social media educator who makes fun reels all about sexual and reproductive health. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Prateek.
Thank you for having me.
So do you want to talk a little bit about what you do? थोड़ा context setting हो जाए क्योंकि embryologist क्या होता है शायद बाकी लोगों को ना पता हो.
So in the most simplest of terms, embryologist is someone who makes babies in a lab. तो मेरा काम है लैब में बच्चे करना. But other than that, it's mostly about helping people who are going through infertility to have their own baby, to complete their family. That's what an embryologist does.
आपको थोड़ा elaborate करना पड़ेगा लैब में बच्चे करने का क्या मतलब होता है, because it means many things in many people's imagination. So please.
ये बात तो बिल्कुल सही है. So we take eggs from the woman, sperms from the man, and then we culture them in the lab, we fertilize them, and we hope कि एक अच्छा embryo बन जाए.
So this is all outside of the body?
This is all happening in the lab. Body
outside of the body?
Yes, outside of the body. इसलिए in vitro IVF. Body में हो गया वो in vivo.
Vitro माने glass?
Yes. So इसलिए इसको नाम भी टेस्ट ट्यूब बेबी बोलते थे, पर टेस्ट ट्यूब में कुछ नहीं होता है, एक डिश में होता है. तो this is what we do. The embryo grows inside the lab, and when we feel the embryo is ready to be transferred, then we transfer it back into the woman's uterus.
Very cool. It's funny you mentioned test tube babies because both of my parents are also fertility doctors. I also trained as an embryologist, and हमारे यहाँ बहुत सारे ऐसे मरीज आते थे और बोलते थे हमको टेस्ट ट्यूब वाला बच्चा चाहिए. जैसे टेस्ट ट्यूब में एक्चुअली बेबीज रखे हों और people are going to collect it. So how did you get interested in this field? मतलब ये तो बहुत ही super specialized, very specific kind of area है. How did you start into this? What was your inspiration behind getting into fertility? Because I see that there's a lot of misinformation about this particular topic. तो आप कहाँ से घुसे इसमें?
So for me, it's very true. किसका में बहुत misinformation है. Most people don't even know about it. I've met doctors who don't know what embryology is. ठीक है. So for me, it was since my parents are also into fertility and I have grown around that environment. घर पे भी यही बातें चलती हैं. तो मुझे पता था यार करना तो है तो गायनी है या एम्ब्रियोलॉजी या IVF में तो आना ही है.
ये मेरी कहानी.
So after MBBS मेरे को पहले से पता था कि I will go into embryology. Not necessarily embryology, but into assisted reproductive techniques. Then MBBS के बाद I thought मैं gynae करके जाऊंगा, the usual route which people take. But I had no intention of practicing gynae after 3 years. मेरे को वो life ही नहीं चाहिए थी. When I have to run in the night, it's very difficult to do it. I've seen my mom do it.
Yeah.
So then I was like, नहीं ये तो नहीं करना है. But then I knew I can still do embryology and enter ART from a different point of view. Not really patient-centric. Embryology is not very patient-centric, but it's behind the scenes. So 50% is your ART, 50% is culturing and growing the embryo and then transferring.
Back end of the baby making.
Yes, back end of the baby making.
So जैसे you're mentioning that you didn't want to go into gynecology, that means you're clearly interested in the other end of things. So tell us all about sperm. What's your favorite sperm fact?
A favorite sperm fact? I mean, there are a lot of facts, but I think the most important fact is that it's a very small cell compared to an egg.
Yeah.
But when it comes to fertilization, it's the most important cell.
Egg par fateh hum karenge. I mean, it's really interesting because somewhere in some book I read that sperm are like astronauts. They're the only cells of our body that leave the body और बाहर निकल करके काम करके आते हैं. They literally, if you think about it from a body perspective, sperms grow and multiply inside testicles, और फिर वो testicles से इतना दूर बाहर निकल के जाके काम करने जाते हैं बेचारे. And they do such miraculous things. I'm thinking, why don't we talk a little bit about how sperm and semen are different? Because ये एक बहुत बड़ा misconception होता है हर इंसान में. Like even people from a scientific background don't quite know oftentimes that sperm and semen are different things. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's actually very true. I mean, the words are used interchangeably. कोई semen बोल देगा, कोई sperm बोल देगा. Even you come to a fertility hospital, sometimes someone will go and say कि इसमें semen ejaculate कर दो, कोई बोलता है इसमें sperm ejaculate कर दो. They are used interchangeably, which is no harm done. But they are two different things if you go into the theory. So semen is the fluid which is ejaculated. Sperm is probably 10 to 15% of it. बाकी उसमें secretions आते हैं अलग अलग glands के. 3 major gland होते हैं, seminal vesicles, bulbourethral और prostate. इन सब के secretions आते हैं, थोड़े nutrients आ जाते हैं, which help sperm survive the environment outside. वो astronaut की oxygen है.
I bete. मतलब I like to think of it personally as sperm का energy drink, but this oxygen is also brilliant. Go on.
Well, I mean, there are myths which even compare sperm to protein drinks. But मत करो यार, उसमें इतना प्रोटीन नहीं होता है.
ये मतलब अगर प्रोटीन शेक बनाना ही है तो you'll have to consume a lot of it, right? Like
yes, and still you won't get the required amount of protein. तो इससे अच्छा है चुपचाप अपना शेक बनाओ और पी लो.
Since you're mentioning this protein angle, I think a very common myth that people often hear from, particularly their gym trainers and ये dude bro circles में बड़ा चलता है कि masturbating or not getting rid of, but releasing semen or releasing sperm makes you lose protein in your body.
Well, not really. See, say masturbation, it requires energy.
Naturally.
Like every other process in the body. But वो इतनी नहीं है कि you'll start losing your muscle, you start losing your gains. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा.
But also like on a similar note, I feel like when you use your muscle more, तो उससे वो muscle grow करती है ना, मतलब खत्म थोड़ी होती है. Isn't that the point of weightlifting?
That is the point of weightlifting, but penis is also not a muscle. It's a spongy tissue है और layer है, उसके अंदर muscle नहीं है.
सही बात. Actually, wait, on that note, थोड़ा बताओ ना penis क्या होता है? Like how is a penis structured? I think this is really important because we just see the penis as this long schlong, right? We don't know what's inside it.
So a very basic anatomy, if I give, what you see in the penis, the most outer covering is the foreskin. And जिनका circumcised होता है for whatever reason, उनका the first thing you'll see is the glans or the head of the penis. उसके बाद it's the shaft followed by the balls which hang below the body. Now penis के अंदर what helps you with the erection are two spongy chambers. ठीक है, जब whenever you're aroused, the blood flows into them and they swell up and that's your erection. उनके ऊपर एक पतली सी layer और होती है, tunica albuginea, and that's it. That's the basic anatomy of penis. तो इसमें ना मसल है ना bone है.
बेहतरीन. So your penis is a sponge, you guys. Since we're talking about balls, and I do really want to talk to you a lot about sperm and semen because that's your specialization, the ball doctor. Also because there's a lot of the same way just periods के बारे में हम बहुत सारी बकवास देखते हैं online. What I have a problem with is when people start making up facts that are completely imaginary and untrue and start saying कि ये करोगे तो ये होगा. So what are some of these myths we hear so often about semen and masturbation and sperm?
So सबसे पहले तो the whole idea of nofap is a myth. Because what happened, and back in 2011, if I remember correctly, there were two people. I don't remember their names. Gary Wilson was one of them, and I think Alexander Rhodes. Now they came up with something which was to say, get rid of porn addiction for people.
Thank you for this. Thank you so much. I really want this point to come to the forefront.
Yeah. So this is something that everyone has missed. That's completely blown out of the picture now. So porn addiction was why the nofap movement came. To reduce the exposure to porn, to reduce it, like people were consuming lots of porn at that time. So I think that was the main reason why it came. And then suddenly somehow, because people are watching porn and masturbating, porn to hat gaya, it became about masturbating less. So it sort of backfired on them. the whole movement and the idea, it sort of backfired on those two people and became about how masturbation is unhealthy for you. Very easy to do. Just create panic in the minds of people. छोटी insecurity डाल दो, तुम अंधे हो जाओगे, तुम्हारे बाल झड़ जाएंगे, your muscle. So बस simple है. Take all the benefits of masturbation. उसको उठा के चिपका दो. If you don't masturbate, you'll get these benefits. और थोड़ा बहुत fear mongering कर दो. Very simple to, start a trend.
Fantastic. And, since you have mentioned what are the benefits of masturbation, do you want to tell us what they are?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, see, it's a sort of a thing which will help you feel better after you've done. You feel relaxed. And what people say that hum thak jate hain, it's because it uses some energy, but it's not significant.
And it also releases, like these feel-good, relaxing hormones.
So dopamine.
Dopamine and prolactin, it makes you feel like, chill.
And you get a good night's sleep, which is also important. So
Insomnia ka naya cure.
So if I I cannot sleep, room lock karo. And then kuch time baad neend aa jayegi.
So yeah, what benefits are there of masturbation?
Well, the biggest benefit is that there is no harm.
Fantastic.
It's the safest form of sex you can have.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about anything. No STIs. No chances of unwanted pregnancies. It releases the feel-good hormones. What else do you need?
What I find very interesting, particularly about semen and sperm, is that इसको इतना हमने powerful और magical बना देते हैं ना कि बस sperm नहीं lose कर सकते, semen lose नहीं कर सकते, भाई सब दुनिया की energy वहीं जमी हुई है. And at the same time, when we think of something like vaginal discharge, it's looked at from an eye of ये गंदा है, इसको detox करना है, you get all of these yoni steaming pearls and yoni steaming and yoni pearls and vaginal detox and yoni eggs and all of that nonsense, because there's this inherent message we're given that women are dirty. And I'm not saying this people are actually going out and saying औरतें गंदी होती हैं, but this is kind of messaging that's put forward from these things, because why are there no penile steaming and penile eggs and penile detoxification rituals? Why is it there's so much sexism and so much misogyny and so much patriarchy at play here that we tend to forget this? And I feel like that's really important to highlight, particularly because of this ये जो communities होती हैं. I remember you and I did a reel together.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't together. I reposted your reel और हमें सीधे फ्रॉडिया वेस्टर्न डॉक्टर बोला गया था.
I remember that very well. बहुत ही recent बात है.
कितना बल भर गाली खाए हैं हम दोनों. Because people kind of start assuming that, I believe when we're having that message, we're coming from a place of science and we're coming from a place of, here are the facts and here is fear mongering. And, personally for me, and I don't know if it's the same for you, I feel like people feel a lot of guilt about these issues.
Yeah.
And उसके ऊपर प्रॉब्लम ये होती है कि आप चाहे जितना भी रिजर्व कर लो अपने आप को, जितना भी रोक लो, नाइट फॉल होके निकल जाएगा. The body will find a way. And because it's, you're constantly producing sperm, तो कभी ना कभी तो निकलेगा ही, वो कहीं ना कहीं निकलेगा ही. And this natural, normal reaction that's happening from your body leads people to fall into these absolute, bouts of guilt and, self-doubt and questioning. And this is why I feel very strongly about it,
So I'll tell you what, because we briefly mentioned nightfall. So testicles, they are a sperm-producing factory. हाँ ठीक है, sperm बनने में there's a set number of days, 60 to 90 days लगेंगे, but that's happening every day.
Yeah.
So sperms are being formed every day.
Yeah.
If they don't come out, the body will push them out. उनको भी, they need space for, and जितने time the sperms are kept inside, there's a thing called ROS, reactive oxygen species.
Mm-hmm.
Now जितने time the sperms are kept inside, the older sperms which are now dead, the viable sperms which are now alive, which you want, सब साथ में रहेंगे, तो ROS will increase. जब वो
मतलब डैमेज बढ़ेगा.
डैमेज बढ़ेगा, बिल्कुल. तो जितना ROS को हम कॉमन टर्म से बोलते हैं फ्री रेडिकल्स. तो जैसे फ्री रेडिकल्स बढ़ते रहेंगे, डैमेज बढ़ता रहेगा.
So that means if you masturbate and let out old sperm frequently, आप डैमेज कम कर रहे हैं.
Yes, you're actually helping yourself by helping yourself.
In more ways than one. Actually, while you were saying this, मेरे दिमाग में एक analogy आ रही थी. I don't know how much it fits, but this is me thinking out loud. ये तो वैसे ही हो गया ना, जैसे breast में milk production होता है. जैसे testicles are sperm producing factories, वैसे breast cells are breast milk producing factories when somebody is lactating. And at the same time, अगर आपने pump करके express कर लिया, I mean either you're going to feed the baby or you're going to pump and express. अगर आपने नहीं किया तो leak कर जाएगा. ऐसा I don't think anybody is questioning the fact that breast milk is wonderful and helpful, but ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर आप breast milk रोक के बैठे रहेंगे तो आप super hero बन जाएंगे. The way they tend to project it about semen retention and other such practices, it's very interesting that we create all of these myths and legends about these things, whereas some very simple actionable things can be done to improve and increase your sperm health and your semen health.
Since you mentioned all the myths about semen retention and becoming a superpower, I heard this somewhere. Okay, if you save your semen, I heard this on a very big social media platform.
Not dropping names. That if you retain your semen, it'll somehow travel upwards your body. I don't know how. मैं बताऊंगी कैसे.
And then it'll enter your brain because blood-brain barrier तो कभी था नहीं. And then somehow you'll have increased focus. You'll have great strength. तुम्हारी life में सब set हो जाएगा. You'll be very productive.
Now I'll tell you where that comes from. While researching for my book, मुझे पता चला इसके बारे में कि in the medieval era, in medieval Europe, they used to believe कि sperm जो है brain में produce होता है. And the greatest minds of that time used to think this. Leonardo da Vinci has a drawing where he has drawn the brain, then he's drawn the spinal cord, and then he's made a connection between the spinal cord and the penis. Because the idea was कि दिमाग के जूस से रस निकल के निचुड़ के, it goes into the penis, and that's where semen comes from. And I feel like this is very important to mention because up until the late 1800s हमें egg के बारे में पता ही नहीं था.
Yeah.
We had no idea there's something like an egg exists. And the idea was कि औरतें तो मतलब घड़ा होती हैं. It's just a vessel. The uterus is just a vessel. All the baby making capability and power and magic is coming from the sperm or the semen, which actually is coming down as a brain, is like brain juice essentially.
Brain juice.
Which is why unfortunately लोग ये समझने लगे कि सोचने लगे, समझने तो नहीं, समझते तो कोई और ही बात होती. Unfortunately लोग ये सोचने लगे कि preserving semen is going to make you smarter or sharper or whatever.
I'll just add on to your point before we go there. It's because see, अब लोग बोलते हैं कि हमारे पुराने जाके बुक्स पढ़ो, उसमें ये लिखा है, उसमें ये लिखा है. जब तुम बोलते हो कि मेडिकल साइंस एडवांस हो रही है और नई चीजें पढ़ो, तो तुम पुरानी चीजों पे क्यों अटके हुए हो? Obviously उनके पास they didn't have that knowledge that now we have it.
They made the best of what they had.
Yes. अब तुम उसी को एज अ गॉस्पेल लेके चलते रहोगे कि नहीं यही सच है, और फिर डॉक्टर्स को बोलोगे कि तुम आप तो ना पढ़ो बस.
आप फ्रॉडिया वेस्टर्न डॉक्टर हैं. डॉक्टर प्रतीक मकवाना एंड डॉक्टर तनिया नरेंद्र. One reel we did together. इतनी जल्दी. I think that's the one and only reel we've done together.
Yeah,
like just
so
you and
far.
me.
Yeah.
And इतनी जल्दी फ्रॉडिया वेस्टर्न डॉक्टर. So now that we've gotten here, talk about smoking and sperm and semen and how it's actually one of the most obvious ways you can actually hurt your sperm and your semen, which we somehow always forget to discuss. मतलब अगर आप सिगरेट के डब्बों पे ये छापना शुरू कर दीजिए, भाई दुनिया बदल जाएगी.
Actually, किसी तो एयरपोर्ट पे when I was traveling, I saw जहाँ पे सिगरेट के डब्बे हैं, ड्यूटी फ्री शॉपिंग, उन पे लिखा था डब्बेज. देसी भाषा बाहर आती है. बट जो वहाँ पे बॉक्सेस थे, ठीक है, उन पे properly लिखा था कि smoking will affect your sperm.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
I'm glad people are...
I even took a photo of it.
Wonderful.
So, yeah. So, I think now people are sort of trying to, become more aware of it, trying to accept it. But, like how it all started, how smoking picked up very quickly and then it just settled. I still believe that अपने से पहले वाली जो generation थी, they used to smoke a lot more than us.
बहुत पार्टी किया है लड़कों ने.
Yes. अभी जो अपनी जनरेशन है उसकी पॉपुलेशन ज्यादा है. That's why it feels कि we are smoking more. But I think smoking tendency per person has reduced. क्यों? Because when the smokes first came out, उनको मार्केट करते थे ये बोल के कि they are very healthy. तुम्हारे हेडेक ठीक हो जाएंगे, तुम्हारे कैंसर्स ठीक हो जाएंगे, तुम्हारे थायराइड डिसऑर्डर्स ठीक हो जाएंगे.
All doctors recommend Camel cigarettes.
Yes. In fact, this used to go on for a long time. I have seen incidences, I've read incidences, doctors used to smoke in the consultation room. Because उस समय वो healthy था करना.
And I read something really interesting. I don't know how true this is. I read this on a Facebook post, so we'll take this with a grain of salt. But somebody had mentioned कि किसी some American university, there was this anatomist. वो अपने students को, I think back in the early 1920s, अपने सारे students को बुला के कह रहे हैं कि आओ बेटा, we'll show you something very rare. And ऐसे हमारे medical college में, you would remember, होता था कि कोई बढ़िया specimen होता था, कुछ interesting specimen होता था, things that you wouldn't normally get to see. हमारे professors हमें specially बुलाते थे कि आके ये देख लो, learn about it. Yeah. And these people, they got a specimen of lung cancer. And they were like, ये शायद कभी तुम्हें देखने ना मिले. It's a very rare cancer. And ये देखिए अभी कि this is how the lungs change. These are changes that happen. This is how the disease develops and things like that. Or 1920s में lung cancer was a rare cancer, according to this Facebook post. Yeah. And I don't want to drive home the point that you should always question your sources, especially when it's Facebook. But if this is true, it's so funny that we've gone from having lung cancer be a rare cancer to something so common just because of how much we go chai sutta. So how does smoking hurt the penis or say the sperm?
So you know what, I think back in 2019 there was a paper. We are still trying to figure out how smoking exactly affects the sperm. Mm-hmm. But लोगों ने बहुत studies कर ली हैं, बहुत लोगों को compare कर लिया है with control group जो नहीं smoke करते हैं बिल्कुल भी, with people who have smoking at the time of that study, and people who had stopped smoking 6 months before the study. तो ऐसे 3 group में study कर लिए, and the sperm qualities, your count, your concentration, volume, even morphology, तुम्हें दिखते कैसे हैं sperm basically, वो सब way better in the people who weren't smoking. They had improved in the people who had stopped smoking 6 months back. So that damage is reversible up to some extent.
Fantastic.
And then it was obviously the worst of the 3 in the people who were smoking at the time of that study. So ये तो पक्का है कि it will affect. अब अगर technical terms में थोड़ा जाए तो there's a hormone called, hormone भी नहीं कहते, I mean these are the compounds in the smokes, ठीक है? So they are basically polyaromatic hydrocarbons. वो क्या करते हैं, they trigger certain receptors which sort of, अब दो ऐसे नाम है जो शायद I mean only people in medical field might get. So they sort of activate the BAX and the cytochrome P450 genes, which
you
are.
Want to break that down?
बहुत लंबा हो जाएगा. The receptors are also actually aryl hydrocarbons. So once अपने ये जो PAH है या के बैठते हैं उनके ऊपर, so it activates those genes, and then that sort of adds as a toxin to both the eggs also and the sperms. So
smoking is bad for eggs and sperm.
Yes, definitely. There's no doubt. So and बाकी जो compound है, I mean say carbon monoxide, nicotine. The thing is reproductive system कितना damage होता है वो सबसे बाद में पता चला है. The rest of your body is getting messed up. और वो हम सबको पहले से पता है.
That's also in part because we're not educated about our fertility. Fertility education, just like sex education, is so severely lacking. मतलब मुझे तो बहुत दिन बाद आके पता चला था, बहुत बड़े होके, कि all of my lifestyle affects my eggs and all of your lifestyle decisions affect your sperm. Yeah. So what are some simple things people can do to ensure healthier sperm?
A lot of the things are not in your control. If you have a pathology, कोई disease है, that's not in your control. Say you go in for some treatment or drug का कुछ interaction हो गया, that's not in your control. But what you can do on your end is the most cliched stuff that you hear every day. Okay? So cut the unhealthy shit out of your diet. Sugars are, I think, one of the major culprits. और हम कैसे खाते हैं sugar हमको पता है.
Chocolate.
So these are some very basic things. Get active. जरूरी नहीं है कि तुम जिम में जाके ही workout करो. पर थोड़ा just make your body active in whatever way you feel comfortable. कुछ करोगे, your body will start, producing those hormones. Workout also is, it releases all those good hormones, right?
Yeah.
The same जो हमने masturbation में किए थे. So
low intensity exercise.
Exactly. So it adds on. बेसिक्स बहुत सिंपल है. बेसिक्स हम सालों से सुनते आ रहे हैं.
वही जो डॉक्टर्स बकवास करते हैं, अच्छे से सो, अच्छा सा खाना खाओ, स्ट्रेस कम लो, रात में पूरी रात सो. And I hate giving this answer because sometimes I feel like it's so stupid that we've been saying this for the past 200 years और हम भी नहीं फॉलो करते. बाकी कोई फॉलो करना तो दूर की बात.
It's the most basic stuff which is the most difficult to follow.
And it's the most impactful also.
Yes. पर उनको सारी फैंसी चीजें करनी है, उनको कीटो डाइट करना है, उनको ये करना है, ये नहीं कि ढंग से खा लें बस.
I feel like this is also, ये मैं हर PCOS के मरीज को यही बोलती हूँ. वो बोलते हैं क्या खाना चाहिए मुझे. I'm like सब खाओ भाई. And it's this generic advice. There's very few pieces of advice you can give in medicine जो हर जगह चप जाती हैं. और सुट्टा मत मारो, बढ़िया खाना खाओ, एक्सरसाइज करो, सही से सो, स्ट्रेस मैनेज करो. This 5-point program works everywhere.
And alcohol.
So इतना हम पहुंच ही गए हैं तो चलो घुस ही जाते हैं इस एरिया में. When we talk about healthy things you can do for your sperm, we always forget this alcohol conversation, like you say. So what are the ways alcohol can harm you? And here's where I really want to sort of bring our focus on, because it's so important. Healthy alcohol consumption होता क्या है? Like, what is a healthy amount of alcohol you can consume without, I mean, anyway you're going to harm yourself, but ठीक ठाक क्या पी सकते हैं?
So there's no such thing as a healthy amount of alcohol. There's an amount which is acceptable. ठीक है. So acceptable, अब every country sort of has their own measures. कि वहाँ पे सब किसी के यहाँ पे liters में देखते हैं, किसी के यहाँ पे किसी और उसमें देखते हैं. The units are different, but usually they say that 1 to 2 drinks a day. Not every day. Ooh. Like in one session. But if you're having 4 to 5 drinks, large drinks in a particular session or within a few hours, that's considered binge drinking, even if you're doing it once. अब अगर तुम यही binge drinking महीने में 5 या 8 से ज़्यादा बार कर रहे हो, then it's called heavy drinking. So now you know कि तुम कौन से bracket में आ गए हो. And then you can just go back and dial it down जिस अपनी pace से. But the idea is that you should not consume a lot. थोड़ा बहुत पीते हैं यार, पी सकते हो. It's not, I mean, it will harm, but it will be acceptable.
Moderation is key. I feel
Moderation is key. But when it comes to smoking, उसमें कुछ moderation नहीं है. मत करो.
Please, if you're listening to this podcast in your car, अपना सोडा बाहर अभी फेंक दो. With डब्बा समेत. Lighter भी. You know, this has been so fun. Like, I just realized that we discuss so many things that we never even think about. And maybe we think about a lot because of, the profession we come from. But we never think about it in terms of the real world. तो बहुत मजा आया मुझे ये सब बात करने में. And thank you so much for joining us. Do you have a favorite sperm myth that you want to close this with?
Yeah, one of my favorite sperm myths is, actually I saw it in a meme.
Ooh.
ठीक है. एक father and a son. ठीक है. Now the father is talking to the son, looking at the wall. Okay, brother, don't masturbate, you'll go blind. And the son is standing at the other side of the room.
Thank you. This is why we have experts who bring you facts and laughter.
Thanks for switching lanes to Racing Canes.
1 box combo, please.
That's 4 juicy chicken fingers you won't be skipping, and our secret cane sauce you want to keep dipping.
Wow, that was fast.
Raising Cane's chicken fingers. One love.